going to start Chapter 8 and one of my favorite topics to talk about, personal finance. So we're going to talk about percent, sales tax, and discounts today. And so we're going to show how to express a fraction as a percent, a decimal as a percent, or a percent as a decimal. We're also going to show how to solve applied problems involving sales tax and discounts. Also determine percent increase or decrease, and we're going to investigate some of the ways percent can be abused. Percents can be abused. So now percents are the result of expressing a number as a part of 100. In fact, that's what the percent means. Percent means per 100. So if you say 80%, you're saying 80 out of 100. Now, expressing a fraction as a percent, you do 3 steps. You divide the number by the denominator, and then multiply the quotient by 100. And this is done by just basically moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. Okay, so you're just multiplying by 100, which again is just moving the decimal place to the right 2 spots, 2 places, and then you just add the percent sign. And so it's that easy. You divide, and then you multiply by 100, and then you add the percent sign. Okay, or in other words, just divide the numerator by the denominator, move the decimal point to the right 2 spots, and then add the percent sign. And so if we want to express 5/8 as a percent, we first divide 5 divided by 8, which gives us the 0.625. And then we're going to multiply by 100, or move the decimal point over 2 spots, and we get 62.5, and then we just add the percent sign. So 5/8 is the same as 62.5%. And that's what we have here. Now, to express a decimal as a percent is easier. All you have to do is move the decimal point 2 places to the right, or in other words, multiply by 100, and then attach the percent sign. So in other words, all you're doing is multiplying the decimal by 100%. Okay? And so if we have 0.47, and then all we have to do is move the decimal point 2 spots to the right, and then add the percent sign. And so this is it. Okay? So basically, you don't have to do step 1 because step 1 is done for you, right? So a fraction has the added step of dividing. Well, if you already have a decimal, you don't have to do the division. Now, to express a percent sign as a decimal number, you're going to go the opposite direction. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to drop the percent sign and then move the decimal point over to the left 2 spots. Now here they have the step 1, moving the decimal and then removing the percent sign. It really doesn't matter which way you do it, but as long as you do those 2 things. So now we want to express each of the percents as a decimal. So 19% would be the same as what? Well, 0.19, because all we do is drop the percentage sign and move the decimal point to the left 2 spots. Now, there's always an imaginary decimal here, okay? So if it's a whole number, then the decimal point is right here. And so you just move it to the left 2 spots. So 180%, you move the decimal point over 2 spots to the left, drop the percent sign, and so you get 1.8. So 19% is the same as 0.19, and 180% is the same as 1.8. Now, many applications involving percent are based on the following formula. A equals P times B. And so these are the key words that you look for. A is P percent of B. So of always implies multiplication in this case. So if we use the formula to determine sales tax, right? So again, what is the amount of tax that you're going to pay on something, whether it's state tax, county, city, or sales tax for customers. The sales tax amount is going to be the tax rate, which is usually as a percentage, but we always transform it to a decimal when you are using it in a calculation. So we do not use percent signs in calculations, okay? And so we take the rate as a decimal and we multiply it by the item's cost, and that will give us the amount of tax that we pay. Now, suppose that the local sales tax is 7.5%, and you purchase a bicycle for $894. So the first question is how much tax is paid? Well, if the tax rate is 7.5%, that means we're going to multiply by what? We're going to multiply by 0.075. And so we take $894, that's the purchase price of the bicycle, and we're going to multiply that purchase price by 0.075. And that is going to give us the amount of the tax that we're going to pay. So 7.5% equals this. So we're going to pay $67.05, rounded to the nearest penny, for the bike, or in sales tax. So that's the tax that we're going to pay. Now, if we want to know what's the total cost, well, that's going to be the price of the bike plus the tax. So we're going to add those two together, and so the total cost for the bike is $961.05. Now, businesses will reduce prices by giving what's called a discount to attract customers to reduce their inventory, to buy. Now, the discount rate is a percent of the original price. So the discount amount is going to be basically the same thing. It's the discount rate times the original price. So tax is like a tax is multiplied by a tax rate. So if you want the tax amount, the discount amount is based on multiplying the original price by whatever the discount rate is. So if we say that we have a computer and the original price of the computer is $1,460 and it's on sale for 15% off. Well, what they want us to do is it's 15% off, meaning that we're going to take 15% of this amount and then subtract it from the original price. And so the discount amount is whatever we get when we multiply 15% by 1460. And so if we take 15% of 1460 and again change it to a decimal, we get $219. And so that's the discount amount. Okay, it's $219. Now, what is the computer sale price then? Well, now we're going to take the 219, subtract it from the 1460, and that's going to give us 1241, right? And so the discount sale price, or the sale price for the computer, is going to be the $1,241. Now, what about percent change? Okay, so percent and change, okay, is, well, what I call percent change. It's typically called percent change. And it could be increase or decrease. And so the way you calculate the percent change is you find the fraction of the percent increase or decrease. And so the amount of the increase divided by the original amount, or the amount of the decrease divided by the original amount. So in other words, the formula that really makes this work is you take the final amount minus the initial amount divided by the initial amount. Okay? So, or in other words, the final amount minus the original amount divided by the original amount. Okay? That will give you the percent increase, but then you have to multiply by 100%. Okay, to get it as a percentage. So then find the percent increase or decrease by expressing the fraction in step 1 as a percent. So you find the fraction, then you're going to divide and then change it to a percent using the steps that we talked about before. Now in this example here, it says in 2000, world population was approximately 6 billion. The data of the United Nations Family Planning Program and are based on optimistic or pessimistic expectations for a successful control of human population growth. So A says find the percent increase in world population from 2000 to 2150 using the high projection data. Well, in this case here in 2000 it was 6 billion, and if we go to 2150 it's 30 billion. So what we do is we take the final amount, right? How much it increased. So the final amount minus the original amount, or final minus initial, divided by initial. So we're going to take 30 billion minus 6 billion, which is going to give us what? 24 billion. And then we take 24 billion divided by 6 billion, and then that's going to give us the fraction, and then we're going to divide and then multiply by 100 and add the percent sign. And then we're going to find the percent decrease in the world population from 2000 to 2150 using the low projection rate. Okay, so in this case here, 4 billion, from 6 billion to 4 billion. Okay, so now in this case here for part A, what was our initial? It was 24 divided by 6, which equals 4. And so that's going to give us a 400% increase, percent change of 400%. Okay, so that's a percent increase. Okay, so the projected percent increase in world population is 400%. So that means it's going to quadruple in that time period. B, use the data shown on the green low projection graph. So now we're going to use the low projection graph. So in that case, the percent decrease, again, we use the same thing, final minus initial. Okay, so in this case here, they do the bigger minus the smaller. But remember, this is a decrease, so it should be a negative number. So if you do final minus initial, in this case, you'll get 4 minus 6, you'll get negative 2/6, and then you'll get negative 1/3, which is a negative 33 1/3%, which means a decrease. Now, you can drop the negative sign as long as you put the word decrease in there. So it says the projected percent decrease in the world is 33 1/3%. Okay, so again, just remember final minus initial divided by initial, or final minus original divided by original. Okay, now John Tesh, while he was still co-anchoring Entertainment Tonight, reported that the PBS series The Civil War had an audience of 13% versus the usual 4% PBS audience, an increase of more than 300%. Now, did Tesh report the percent increase correctly? Well, let's begin here. So find the actual percent increase. So percent increase, again, is the amount of the increase. Okay. So it had a 13% increase versus 4%, the usual 4%. So what do? We do 13% minus 4%, or final minus initial, right? Divided by initial, and you get 9/4, which is 2.25, which is 225%. Okay. Now, the percent increase for PBS was 225%. This is not more than 300%, so he did not report the percent increase correctly. Now, I'm not sure where he might have gotten that. I know why. I know why. So if you look at this, he took 4%, and if you take 4 times 3, that gives you 12%. So he basically said that this percentage was almost more than 3 times this percentage. Okay, that's where he got the 300 more than 300%, because if you do triple this amount, right, you get this. So it would be more correct if he said that the percent of audiences was triple the usual rate. Then that would probably be more accurate. But in this case here, you're looking at the percentages, and if we're going to talk about strictly going by what it means to be a percent increase, we're going to use the formula because that's going to give us a more accurate answer. Okay, so that ends this section. And so again, please make sure that you go through the videos before the lecture or before class time. And make sure you practice these examples, go through the other examples that are in the textbook, work on the suggested homework, and please make sure you take notes and bring your questions to class, or if you get stuck on a problem, bring it to class or email me about it and we'll work it out in class. And anyway, have a great day, and until next time, see you later.